the UIA, switch depress pump, or check switch depress pump power is off.
Depress pump power is currently off, OFF.
Okay, copy. Check depress pump enable LED is on.
Enable LED is on.
And Houston, airlock on 1. With your go in step 76, we'll move to the crew lock depress cue card.
Drew, thanks for that. You were so efficient that you got there before the clock is ready. So we've got about a little less than 7 minutes before we can give you that go.
Wow.
Okay, copy that, Mark. We're standing by.
Crew there talking with astronaut Mark Van Dye, who's helping out here on the ground. He and Stephanie Wilson are the voices you'll mostly hear from Mission Control Houston today, talking with the astronauts. And once the spacewalk starts, that will probably be mostly Stephanie Wilson. They're going to be the Capcoms, as we call them, here on the ground. And you also heard there the first words from our spacewalkers today. Now that they are in the smaller portion of the airlock, the team here on the ground has turned on their microphones inside their spacesuits, and so we'll be hearing them as they go through their tasks for the rest of the day. They still have a few minutes left to finish up their pre-breathe that we talked about earlier.
On 1, since we've still got a little more than 5 minutes remaining before we go for depress, we're thinking this might be a good time, if you agree, to do your tether config checks.
And Mark, I think that'll work for us.
We are ready to copy.
Okay, copy. We're going to read the config, starting with the airlock gearing extender through the safety path. So for that, airlock gearing extender is connected to Jessica's right waist tether, large hook, gate closed, slider lock. That's going to her right D-ring, small hook, gate closed, slider lock. D-ring has a red hook for her red reel safety tether, gate closed, slider lock. That reel isn't unlocked. Her yellow hook is going to my left waist tether. Her yellow hook is gate closed slider lock. My left waist tether, large hook, gate closed slider lock. And the small hook of that waist tether is going to my left D-ring extender, gate closed slider lock. For me, I also have a right waist tether, and it is gate closed slider lock on my right D-ring extender. And then for my safety tether, on the left D-ring extender, red hook, gate closed, slider lock. Red reel is in unlock. My yellow hook is on my mini workstation. We also have a waist tether on the airlock D-ring extender, and the small hook is gate closed, slider lock.
Copy all. We're talking about it real quick.
As I was saying, the crew has just a few minutes left now in that pre-breathe protocol. They go through to purge nitrogen for their system. And once they run down that clock, which is a set length of time, they can begin the depressurization procedure for the airlock. That takes about 30 minutes and will get us on our way to actually starting today's spacewalk, possibly a little bit early. Christina Koch there was going through the different configurations of the tethers that the astronauts will go out of the airlock with today. Tethers are important since in microgravity, anything from tools to tool bags and hardwares or even astronauts can float away if they're not tethered down. So we want to make sure that their tethers are in the right configuration before they even go out of the hatch, and then they will be talking about them a lot throughout the course of today's spacewalk.
Airlock Houston on Space to Ground 1. Christina, those were outstanding. That was an outstanding report. We are just want to double check one thing, whether or not Jessica's right waist tether's small hook is on her right D-ring or her right D-ring extender?
Right D-ring extender.
Outstanding. Thanks very much. We see that as a good config.
Thanks for the call.
Confirming there that all those tethers do look like they're in a good configuration, which puts us in a good stance for today's spacewalk. But we do still have a ways to go before we actually begin it. We've got just a couple minutes left on their, or a minute and a half actually left on the clock before they can begin the depressurization procedures. Again, that'll take about 30 minutes. Spacewalk was scheduled to begin at 6:50 a.m. Central, but maybe a little bit ahead of schedule at this point.
Airlock Houston on space to ground 1. You are go per step 76 for the depress.
Copy, Mark. Okay, Jessica, Christina, good morning again. Jessica, on the UIA, switch depress pump power to on.
Depress pump power is on.
We're going to wait a couple seconds. Okay, Jessica, take the depress pump man ISO valve to open.
And ISO valve is open.
Copy, open. Monitor your chute pressure gauge remains less than 5.5.
Copy. Copy. Airlock pressure 13.4.
Copy.
Point 5.
Copy.
$11.9.
That clock did run down. That wraps up the pre-breathe time for the 2 spacewalkers today. So that means that they have now gotten into the depressurization of the crew lock, the small portion of the Quest airlock. We're already seeing the pressure fall in there. It started out at about 14.7, which is what the rest of the space station at, and is now down to a little more than 11 pounds per square inch. It'll be stopping at the 6.0 mark to do some checks, and in all, this procedure will take about 30 minutes to complete.
$10.5.
Copy.
$9.5.
Copy.
$9.0.
Copy.
$8.0.
Copy. And when the crew lock's at 6.0, you can expect an alert tone.
81 copies. 82 copies.
Just as a reminder, when the crew lock is at 5.0 PSI, you will be taking the depress pump man ISO valve to closed at 5.0.
Copy.
Andrew Morgan continuing to walk the spacewalkers for today through this depressurization procedure for the Quest airlock. They're heading down to vacuum, or close as they can get for the airlock before they open the hatches between the smaller portion of the airlock, the crew lock portion that they're in right now, and the vacuum of space that pumping the air out of that portion of the airlock minimizes the amount of air that we lose when we open the hatch. So that's the goal of this procedure, but once it's over, the crew will be able to switch their spacesuits to battery power, which will mark the beginning of today's spacewalk. It was scheduled for 6:50, but I think we may be a little bit early, so maybe seeing that a bit sooner than expected.
.9.
Copy.
While we continue working through the depressurization of the Quest airlock, let's take a look at some of the other well wishes we've been getting in. This one from Steve Park saying maybe someday one, two, or all three of his granddaughters will be able to do a spacewalk of their own, and wishing Christina, Koch, and Jessica Meir luck and fun. This one from Maggie showing her daughters pretending to float in space at the Kennedy Space Center Museum, and thanking the spacewalkers for showing girls that reaching for the stars and their dreams is possible. And one more from Tay, wishing good luck to both of the spacewalkers and giving them congratulations, and adding that they're inspiring a whole generation of young girls in all ages around the world. She says she'll be watching, and glad that you guys are following along with us as well. Keep sending your well wishes and photos in, as well as your questions using the hashtag AskNASA.
And then follow the instructions on your DCM.
Copy. For EV1, leak check has started. 55 seconds left. EV2, 56 seconds.
Copy.
Koch and Meir got to the 5 pounds per square inch mark inside the Quest airlock, which signals time for a leak check of their spacesuits. So we'll pause there for that leak check before they continue then depressurizing that area of the Quest.
Check complete, EV1.
Copy.
Check complete EV2. Setting my O2 actuator to IV. EVA, excuse me.
Copy.
EV2 is an EVA.
Okay, copy. EV1, EV2. I understand that you both have your O2 actuators in EVA.
And
With that,
for
Jessica,
EV1,
you
that
can
is
take the
still in work.
depress pump man iso valve
And
to open.
standby 1, Drew. For EV1, it's still in work.
Say again?
EV1 is still in work.
Okay, copy.
E1 is an EVA.
Copy. EV1 and EV2, both O2 actuators are in EVA.
Confirm.
Jessica, with that, on the crew lock, take the depress pump man iso valve to open.
With good leak checks there, they have resumed the depressurization of the Quest airlock. They're now under 5 pounds per square inch. Continuing to head down.
Pressure gauge remains less than 5.5.
EV1 copies. EV2 copies.
Although the Quest will continue to depress, the spacesuits will stay at about 4.3 pounds per square inch for the spacewalk.
Copy 2.0.
They'll be pausing again when they get the airlock down to 2.0 pounds per square inch.
Point 0.
Copy.
Once again, the spacewalk will officially start when the crew switch their spacesuits to battery power rather than relying on the space station's power. But they will be then open the hatches probably before that, and then moving outside of the space station. Cook will be the first to go out, and she'll be setting up some safety tethers for both of them before Meir follows her with one of the tool bags they'll be using today.
Point 0.
Copy, Goose.
2.6.
Copy.
.3.
Copy.
And 2.0. Closing man ISO valve.
Copy this.
It's closed.
Okay, we understand the depress pump man ISO valve is closed. Switch depress pump power to off, OFF.
Depress pump power is off, OFF.
Okay, copy. And for step 11, I will check with Houston, but I think with the initial tether configuration, we are good to go. If Mark could confirm.
Drew, thanks for checking. Yes, we are go.
Copy that, Mark. And Jessica and Christina, when the crew lock pressure is about 0, you can expect an alert tone. And when the EV hatch delta P is less than 0.5, Christina, I'll give you a go to open the hatch.
EV1 copy. .6.
Copy.
Everything going good with the depressurization of the Quest airlock. We think we're about 10 minutes away before we can open the hatches. And then again, the spacewalk doesn't officially start until the spacesuits are moved to battery power.
EV hatch. Each batches that. And I'm showing .9 on the EV hatch gauge. Copy.
And Jessica, Christina, copy.
This is Mission Control Houston. As we get closer to the beginning of today's spacewalk, we've had astronaut Tracy Caldwell Dyson join us here on console. She is a veteran spacewalker herself. I think 3 spacewalks, right, on
That's
your
correct.
own space station expedition. So she's here to share a little bit of her own wisdom, tell us a little bit about what the spacewalkers are going through. So thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Brandy. It's good to be here.
We are going to keep pausing, letting the spacewalkers talk. You won't miss any of the action for this, but I thought it would add a little bit today.
0.75 or so. What do you guys have in there?
Copy, Christina, and we showed just a little touch more before we're at half a PSI.
Copy that.
So, Tracy, it sounds like they're getting close to being at the point where they can open the hatches, but tell us a little bit about what it takes to get to this point. Your training and then the prep in space. What does it take to do a spacewalk?
It takes quite a bit. The preparations for an EVA start well before they get into the suits and inside the crew lock. They've probably for the last 2 weeks been charging batteries, getting their tools together, sizing their suits, reviewing procedures, asking questions, and just overall coordinating this big event. So it's not only that, but all the work that they've done on the ground before they even launched, just learning the skills and gaining the confidence to go out and do something like this.
Do you feel like you haven't done it before? Do you think they feel confident? Do you think they feel ready to go? Did you when you did your spacewalk?
Yeah, by the time you're tucked in this crew lock, you do feel very confident, not just in yourself, but in the entire team. You know, there's a crew on orbit helping them get suited up and into the crew lock, and there's a whole team of folks here in this room, in the back rooms, and all over the center that have been training them for this very day. And so you do feel very confident, very ready, and you can just listen to their voices. They're calm, and they know what they got to do, very competent.
Absolutely. They do sound great. We are really excited to see the actual spacewalk start, but it sounds like we've got a few more minutes. My impression is that this is a pretty small space that you're closed into, and you've got to have like just the anticipation, adrenaline going at this point. What do you remember about your first spacewalks or any of your spacewalks at this point?
Well, my first spacewalk was an unplanned one, and so what I remember is being very focused on the procedures that and knowing that once we went out the hatch and started performing the task that we may have to do some work that we weren't really planning to do because it was a little unknown, the situation. But for these gals, I'm pretty sure they're focused on the depress.
On the EV hatch gauge.
Copy that, Christina. That is consistent with the numbers we have here.
Copy.
And you can hear Christina's looking at her suit pressure gauge and probably just thinking about procedures at this point. And they're probably both in any spare personal moment thinking, I just can't wait till that hatch opens. And I see what's ahead of us. I'm not sure if we're going into a day pass, but if we are, especially Jessica, this being her first time, will get the view she's longed to look for.
And we're longing for it as well. I can't wait to see it.
1.5 in here.
Okay, copy with that. Christina, with that, you have a go to open the EV hatch and stow it.
Copy. In work.
So the crew getting the go-ahead to open the hatch, but again, this doesn't actually start the spacewalk. We count the spacewalk as officially starting when the crew turns their spacesuits on to battery power. And again, we are looking forward to this historic moment when we have the first spacewalk conducted by 2 women.
CC high message. What does EV2?
Copy. And Christina and Jessica, with that, the emergency MPEV is closed. And Jessica, Christina, we are so proud of you. You're going to do great today. We'll be waiting for you here in a couple hours when you get home. I'm going to hand you over to Stephanie now. Have a great, great EVA.
Drew, thank you so much. It's been our pleasure working with you this morning, and I'm working on getting that EV hatch open, and I can report it's opened and stowed. Thank you, Drew. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Drew. Good morning, Christina and Jessica. On your DCMs, take your power switches to bat, stagger switch throws, and expect a warning tone.
Hearing there our first word today from Stephanie Wilson at the Capcom console. Continuing to help guide the spacewalkers through these final steps before they begin the spacewalk.
Copy. Check display switch functional.
Tracy, how important is this help from the ground? The guiding it through seems like a lot to remember on your own.
Absolutely.
Take power EV1, EV2, 2 switches to off, OFF.
And Christina and Jessica have enough work with their hands and feet and their brain outside that it really helps to have someone like Stephanie.
Power both off.
Check power EV1, EV2, 4 LEDs are off.
EVA, we did not copy display switch functional, did you guys?
All LEDs are off.
On your DCMs, disconnect your SCUs from your DCMs and stow the SCUs in the pouch.
So not only does Stephanie
And with the battery power now on, the spacewalk has officially begun. We see that happening at 6:38 a.m. Central Time, a little ahead of schedule, about 12 minutes, but that gets us started on today's historic spacewalk. You also heard Andrew Morgan there wishing the crew luck.
Designated in pouch and DCM cover closed.
Copy EV2.
And EV1 demated in pouch. DCM cover closed.
Copy for EV1. Jessica, check depress pump man ISO valve closed.
Pump man isolation valve is closed.
I'll say one more thing about the voice of Stephanie Wilson. She's a familiar voice to them, and so being outside, it's very comforting to know the person that you're talking to on the inside. You really they feel probably at this point Stephanie's out there with them.
And she's been doing a lot of these spacewalks. Was I think going to do all 5 of the ones that were planned, so she's already done 2 with them.
Yep.
Copy. Take your water switches to on.
And she's no stranger to being in space, and so she has a.
Water on.
I think that experience that Stephanie has is projected in her voice, and that also adds to the confidence and comfort that the spacewalkers are going to have today as they go on with their tasks.
Copy. Take temperature control valve as desired.
Once again, the spacewalk today did begin officially at 6:38 a.m. Central Time.
2 is at 6. EV1's at 5.
Hatches open on the Quest airlock. You can see the cover popped up there.
6 for EV2. Check suit P gauge 4.2 to 4.4.
And there are just a couple of steps left before we would expect to see the spacewalkers coming out of the hatch.
4.3 for EV1 and 4.4 for EV2.
Copy 4.5 and 4.4. Visors as required for day.
And Stephanie for EV1, that was 4.3. Stephanie for EV1, it was 4.3.
Copy 4.3 for EV1. Thank you, Christina. And you may take your visors as required for day.
And visors set for EV1. Copy. And that's complete.
Copy. We have all of the suit parameter data here on the ground. We have taken care of the airlock VRIV step, so we show crew lock depress complete. The hatch thermal cover is open. Christina, you may egress the airlock.
Copy. In work.
And that was the go-ahead from Stephanie Wilson for Christina Koch to begin heading out of the airlock. Again, the spacewalk has officially begun. 6:38 a.m. Central Time was the official start time. And keep an eye here on the view from coming down from the space station. We should see the spacewalkers beginning to make their way outside. Once again, this historic moment. First time that two women have done a spacewalk together. Tracy, as a female spacewalker, does that seem like a milestone worth marking and celebrating to you?
I think the milestone is that hopefully this will now be considered normal. It's significant in that, not to overshadow the fact women have been doing spacewalks for 35 years, and we train like this every day, and so it's pretty normal, and we just hope that this is a start to that.
To inspect the load alleviating straps. EV1's on the aft external D-ring and EV2's on the forward.
Christina Koch there, the first to come out of the Quest airlock.
EV1's load alleviating strap is inspected and looks good. And EV2's load alleviating strap is under inspection.
Copy. For the safety tether config, attach EV1 yellow hook to safety tether reel on the aft external D-ring.
You'll be able to tell the two spacewalkers apart by a red stripe on Christina Koch's spacesuit. Jessica Meir's will be all white. And this first task is to make sure the tethers are all in the right configuration so that they can safely make their way out. Once she's done this, Jessica Meir will be following her out of the hatch.
Copy. Attach aft safety tether green hook to EV1 red reel.
And Tracy, I think you were saying that hopefully this could kind of be considered a normal thing going forward.
Yeah, as much as it's worth celebrating the first spacewalk with an all-female team, I think many of us are looking forward to it just being normal. And I think if it signifies anything, it is to honor the women who came before us, who were skilled and qualified and didn't get the same opportunities that we have today because it is so normal.
That's
Copy, Christina. Check gate closed and reel unlocked.
That's a great sentiment. And speaking of, people paving the way, I'm sure that you see a lot of young girls as you're out speaking. Do you get the sense that a lot of people are hoping to follow in your footsteps?
There is a lot of enthusiasm, and especially from the younger girls. It's starting to become more normal, and they can envision themselves in these roles and in these places. And I think that will instill confidence that will last in their formative years and hopefully bring them their dreams to fulfillment. And if being an astronaut and a spacewalker is one of them, then I think today will be meaningful.
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of well wishes from people here on the ground saying, so good to see women doing this. My daughters are watching. School children classes are watching today. So hopefully they'll be inspired by this spacewalk, by all of your work. But is there any advice that you would give somebody in that position who is hoping to follow in your footsteps?
I think the best advice I could give to anyone, especially young ladies, is to know yourself and the things that you really enjoy doing, and to keep doing those things because that's what's going to bring out the best in you.
And I suppose that's what you did and what Christina Koch and Jessica Meir did.
I got to believe that was the main ingredient in the formula.
Absolutely. All right. Well, as we are, getting started on today's spacewalk, anything that you would say, be sure and watch for this, or this will be an interesting part?
Well, as a astronaut and spacewalker myself, there's so much about what they're doing today that I think is interesting from a technical standpoint. The very task they're performing at the moment is not one that is typical. We usually go out with our safety tethers, and so the inspections aren't necessary, but inside the crew lock. So what Christina's doing right now to ensure their safety already is expending a lot of energy with her fingers in a pressurized suit. So if you can't see the details of what she's doing, but it is rather intricate and very important, and it's good that she's taken her time with that task. But one of the, I think, exciting moments, just even to watch, if not to experience, especially for Jessica, this being her first one, is when they're out on the pallet, the external pallet that holds the spare equipment that they'll be installing today. That pallet is positioned on the space station such that when they're on it, they're going to get the full view of the Earth going underneath them at a speed that is quite noticeable. They'll see it going underneath their feet.
Released our waist tether from the airlock D-ring extender.
And it will be exhilarating for them, and it'll be rather interesting if we can get a great camera view of it to see our people out there, our pink bodies breathing in their own satellites and dangling from the space station, doing some pretty important work.
Yeah, that sounds great. We don't have helmet camera views just yet, but we do hope to get those as the spacewalk gets going. And seeing Jessica Meir make not her first steps, but her first float out of the hatch there.
For your egress. Okay, and copy. I'm going forward, and I've got a waist tether down.
Copy. Jessica's egressing 10 seconds to a 20-second handover.
Both spacewalkers, Christina, Koch, and Jessica Meir, now out of the Quest airlock hatch. Again, today's spacewalk officially began at 6:38 a.m. Central Time, and started on the work for today, which is a swap out of a battery charge discharge unit that we had a problem with following a spacewalk last Friday.
Christina, I'm going to do a little translation adaptation here. Okay, copy. We'll wait for the handover to end, and Stephanie will be back with us for next step. Or maybe I'll go ahead and get this on my DOT first.
And Houston is back with you, and we're copying, and that's your call. If you'd like to place the medium ORU bag first or conduct the translation adaptation, it is up to you.
Okay, copy.
Translation adaptation is kind of a big fancy way to say getting used to moving around in space.
Yes, a very fancy way. Yeah, there's this experience they have in vacuum of space. Maneuvering in the suit is not easily mocked up here on Earth, and so this is the first time they'll experience that frictionless motion in their suit, but they're massive, and so they need to put in some effort to stop themselves. And so this is a period of time for them to understand what forces they're going to need to do the maneuvering as well as the stopping.
And that's not something that you really can practice on the ground, right?
Not at all. No, we have some facilities that are like an air hockey table. It's a precision air bearing floor that we used to use to replicate that. But nowadays we have a bungee system and a facility that suspends us, and then we're able to more effortlessly move things and react to the momentum and the mass of a unit. In addition to stopping ourselves. So we do have some ways of practicing it here.
I can see your tether if you are in a good config. Happy, thank you.
EV1, and would you both please give us a baseline HAP check?
For EV1, my HAP is dry. EB2, half is dry.
Copy dry HAPs.
Get the thermal cover while we...
Copy dry HAPs and thermal cover and work.
So HAP checks are something that we're going to be hearing kind of on and off throughout the spacewalk. That's a periodic check that they do to make sure that there's not a lot of water in their helmet.
Or no water at all, we hope. But yeah, this is something new since the one spacewalk we had with Luca, who was inside. He's going to do the arm work for them, where we had water in the helmet. And though we don't expect to have that issue again, the HAP is a means to protect the crew if we were to experience water in the helmet.
They'll keep doing that. HAP, I think, stands for helmet
absorption pad.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll also do glove checks, looking for any cuts on their gloves. So we'll be hearing that throughout today.
And Christina, how does this bag look? I have it out so I can see it. Yep, it is out. I can see that it's in your vision. You definitely have some space to put it back a little bit if you wanted to do it that way, but I can keep an eye on it as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if we actually hear a comment, but I can bet the two are thinking, or at least Jessica, this being her first time out, just how similar the environment she's in looks to the environment that we train in. There's so many similarities, with the exception of that big, plump blue planet.
Yeah, and I think every handrail has another number. They know exactly where they're going ahead of time and which path they'll take.
Exactly, yeah. Stephanie will be calling out specific handrail numbers, but they've done enough preparation that they know the general direction they're going, and knowing the numbers confirmed by Stephanie just give them confidence that they're going in the right direction, especially when the sun goes down. They have helmet lights, and there's some lights on the external lights on the station that help illuminate their path. But boy, when that sun goes down, it's a much different view. So having handrail numbers called out can sometimes keep you in the straight line path you're intending.
And it looks like we will be heading into a dark portion of this orbit in the next minute, or next few minutes. And so we'll get a good first look at what that's like soon. And you mentioned that your own spacewalk, that your first one wasn't a planned one. So it's how do you get ready for that when you can't train on the ground for it ahead of time?
Well, we have, first of all, a fantastic team on the ground, so dedicated to providing as much information as we can, and then it's a matter of getting the time to absorb it, and then prioritizing for yourself what you're going to need. We have virtual reality that we can use on orbit to immerse ourselves in the environment and get familiar with it. But it's just knowing the primary goals of your task and relying a lot on your training to kick in once you're outside, and then of course the ground guiding you.
Okay, Stephanie, I think with that I'm ready to start translating.
Copy, Jessica. For Christina, translate to the APFR in the starboard CETA card, and you'll begin your SSRMS setup. And for Jessica, translate to P4. You'll temp stow the medium ORU bag on a handrail there.
And I think ED2, I will lead this translation.
And for this one, Christina leads the translation.
Hey, did we got a change? And my tether is the one that is air-led on handrail 500, so we were showing that Jessica would lead, but we'll take your words on that.
Christina, Jessica, we copy. We would like Christina to lead.
And Jessica, are you in a good position? Yeah, stand by. I'll get out of your way. Copy?
So they finished that first initial work they have to do, getting used to being in space and getting their tethers set up, and now they're getting on their way, moving to their work sites for the first task.
Yeah, there's so much work that they've done up to this point. It seems almost unfair to say they're getting started. But yeah, their first task is about to begin.
Okay, copy that.
Christina will be moving to get in place for her ride on the Canadarm2.
I believe this is the first time she's been on the arm in her this is being her fourth spacewalk. I think this is her first arm ride.
I mean, if you're going to do a spacewalk, it sounds like that is even better to do it.
Have somebody else translate
Right.
you, of course. She's earned it.
And we're getting our first look here from the helmet cameras of the spacewalkers. This one's from Jessica Meir, and you'll be able to tell that it's her view during the spacewalk by the number 11 embossed in the lower right-hand corner of the screen.
Okay, and I'm showing you passing your tether without any interference there. Okay, copy. Let me know when you're clear for me to start. And I am clear for you to start. I'm about halfway up the Cedar Square now.
And Christina, Jessica, we copy. And just some additional words on this. Christina, you will end up waiting for Jessica to pass once you're at the P4 working the SSRMS setup. And also, Jessica, you can expect to have to cross over Christina's safety tether at the CETA card.
Okay, copy, Stephanie. And EV1 copies as well. And EV1 is on phase 1, translating port.
Copy, Christina.
EV2 also on phase 1, right behind her.
Copy.
This again is a view from Jessica Meir's helmet camera. She is making her way to begin setting up the work site at the P6 truss segment. That's the far end of the port truss on the space station. One of the furthest work sites that we send spacewalkers to.
With 5.
When she's there, she'll be picking up some handles that were pre-installed on the nickel hydrogen batteries that were going to be replaced in what would have been a spacewalk on Wednesday. This one preempted it when we had a problem with a battery charge discharge unit following the second spacewalk in the series, which took place last Friday.
And Jessica, I am Venus on the starboard cedar cart, so when you do go by, no clearance. Okay, I'm coming up to the cedar cart now. Jessica, width 5 is the width that is in the middle of the seated cart on the port side. Okay, copy that. Good to know. I'm right beneath your feet, so don't move down. Copy.
Little bit of a view there of Christina Koch from Jessica Meir's helmet as they crossed paths. Meir on her way out to the P6 truss while Koch is getting ready to begin setting up the robotic arm so that she can use it to carry the large battery charge discharge unit that the spare that they'll be bringing over to P6.
We are not past our, I passed our tether points. Okay, correct? Yep, they are beneath, but they are nadir of the starboard seated cart. Copy.
So right now Jessica is translating under the MT, the mobile transporter that holds the mobile base system that often secures the robotic arm. And in the pool, that is a dreaded place to have to translate. It's because of gravity. It makes it very difficult to be under this structure. And so, though Jessica hasn't made any comments, I think it would be very consistent with every other spacewalker's experience that it is a joy to be underneath that in space. And so she's probably thinking, this is way better than the pool.
Neutral buoyancy laboratory.
Yes.
We should probably explain what the pool is, the neutral buoyancy laboratory that you practice in.
Yes, we fondly call it the pool, but it's a gigantic training facility that holds the mock-up of the space station, and that's just how we practice spacewalking. And though we can become buoyant, neutrally buoyant in the pool, we can't take away gravity. And so
P4 handrail 5104 for SSRMS setup. And check your gauntlets in place prior to crossing the Sarge.
Copy. 5104 on P4, and I'll check my gauntlets.
Good read back.
Stephanie, I've reached handrail 5120, which I believe is where I'm leaving the medium ORU bag.
And that is a good location to temp stow the medium ORU bag. Also, check your gauntlets in place.
Okay, copy. My gauntlets are in place.
Copy.
Jessica's helmet cam, you can see the glow of the horizon on Earth, and as magnificent as that is to see, it will probably not be enough to distract Jessica right now from the task she has at hand. That's how much you concentrate while you're out there. It's such a unique environment that it takes as much mental strength as it does physical strength. And
yes, we talk a lot about how physically hard it is, but it's also, you just come back completely exhausted, I would assume.
yes, you think as hard as you can out there.
Copy, Christina.
I see you.
Moving out of range of video downlink from the satellites for a moment or two.
Okay, and I am to Jessica. So stand by. Not Christina, I have the bag stowed, but I have not taken out the GoPro yet. Do you want to kick the GoPro out? Or do you want me to? If you're in a good spot, go ahead, and if not, I'll be glad to do it. And do you remember that on the right or the left side of the bag? It's on the same side as the red. You know what? I can do it since I set it up. Okay, that'll work. Good call. Okay, Stephanie, then with that, I should keep progressing outboard.
That's affirmed, Jessica. You can translate to the P6 long spacer, hand roll 5312 to attach your green hook, and I have one warning and one caution if it's a good time.
Oh, sure, I'm ready for that.
The warning is for sharp edges on P6. There's a P6 sharp edge hazard, MT rail attach lug near the 2 Bravo IAA inboard radiator corner. And the one caution on P6, avoid contact with deployed and stowed radiators.
Okay, copy that.
Jessica, Christina, for your information, arm is in motion.
Copy.
Still seeing this view from Jessica Meir's helmet camera. She's again making her way to actually what would have been the work site to install the next set of new batteries if we'd been going through the regularly planned spacewalk. Instead, she'll be picking up some of the equipment there because she and Christina Koch will need it as they're moving the battery charge discharge unit around.
And Stephanie, V1, I'll copy.
Christina, I copy you now. We're in a period of RADI-COM for another 6 minutes.
The challenge coming up for these this entire team is once Christina has the arm set up and is ready for motion, she'll be talking with Luca inside, who's maneuvering the arm, and then Jessica's still going to need to be kept busy and listening for Stephanie. And so it'll be interesting for folks to listen up at how well they coordinate that communication from inside the space station to outside the space station to here inside Mission Control. It'll be kind of neat to watch.
Another example of how much there is to keep track of.
Absolutely. No shortage.
Please repeat your last.
Yes, my last was just updating you on My location, 5104 and 5103 handrail, and wanted to check in with you on this location for setup of the SSRMS. I believe this is where we're looking to be.
And you are correct.
And Stephanie for EV2, I'm at 5312 working on my green huck.
Copy, Jessica. And Christina, if you are ready to work with Luca for the GCA for APFR install, I can hand you over to him.
Okay, stand by one. I'll let to keep you for a minute longer while I reposition for this.
Copy that. Copy.
The APFR that you hear him talking about is the articulated portable foot restraint that Christina Koch will be using as she rides the robotic arm to the next work site. That'll allow her to have her hands free to hold the equipment.
The outboard route.
The APFR is one of those pieces of equipment that we use commonly in any spacewalk, but it's also one of the more massive things that we manipulate during a task. We do everything from retrieving it to installing it to ingressing our own feet into it, and it's one of those things that a lot of training is spent mastering that. And so it's a rewarding experience when you actually get to go into space and use one, because it's been reported to be a lot easier in space than it is in training. So I bet it's a joy for them right now.
That's good to hear. I think Jessica Meir will be using one several times later in the spacewalk if there's time, as a get-ahead to check out some worksite interfaces.
I will rely on you for clearance because my views currently are do not consent me to really see the position.
Okay. In your current location, is this considered the published APFR install location?
That is correct. This is the published APFR install position.
Okay, copy that. I'm going to class. We'll go with 10 centimeters toward the IEA, and I'm showing that zenith.
I understand the 10 centimeter station zenith.
Good, read that.
That does seem like a hard part of the coordination, the minute maneuvers with the robotic arm to get it just in the right place.
Oh, it is, and the words spoken between the EV crew member and the arm operator are really important. What we try to do is to minimize the iterations that we go through in terms of saying what we want and getting the arm in the right position. And so it's that's what is the goal for these translations, as well as the communication between the crew.
We are 40 seconds from a 20-second handover, and 1 minute to sunrise.
See that? We'll go for an APFR install. That's in work.
Copy.
And I would also add that the coordination between the EV crew and the arm operators is aided by the fact that we all cross-train. And so Luca has been a spacewalker, and Christina's been an arm operator, and so they know how to speak the same language and know what each other needs, and that aids in making sure they get the positions that they want without spending a lot of time getting there.
That makes sense, and I'm sure you've driven the robotic arm as well. Is that
difficult? It is it's complex because we have this sophisticated robotic arm that has 7 degrees of freedom, and the space station is enormous and complex, and we have camera views that are not very straightforward. So you spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of brain power interpreting the views that you see, and cross-checking with other views to make sure that there's no obstructions and you're not going to make contact with structure. And so it is difficult. And then plus you've got a live person on the end of the arm, and that adds a level of that turns it up a notch for the arm operator.
Definitely
for sure.
Don't want to run them into anything.
Absolutely not. That's your buddy.
Moved through a period where we're not getting downlink again, but it's coming back now, and I think we should be out of that period where we're dropping in and out now.
Christina, Jessica, back with you after the handover. Jessica, we see you have the crew lock bag in sight, and you'll retrieve the 4 scoops to place those on 3 batteries and a DCSU on the IEA.
That didn't work.
And those scoops are the handles that we were talking about, getting them off the nickel hydrogen batteries that were set to be replaced so that they can be used to move the new and old battery charge discharge units around. Jessica Meir will be taking them over to Christina Koch to get them installed, and installing some of her own as well. And Tracy, thanks so much for spending time with us today. I know that you have your own work that you need to be getting to. So any parting thoughts, advice before you head out?
I just think everyone ought to be sending some positive vibes by way of airwaves to space for these 2 top-notch spacewalkers. I think it's going to be a long day, and so they'll be focusing as much with their mind as with their hands, and so I think we can expect their calm to probably get a little bit less and less as the day goes on, as their brain is focused on the task.
Installed from the SSRMS lift, docking of 12, this pull and twist test, and I have black on black.
But I think the thing to really pay attention to is the unspoken coordination between the whole crew, especially the 2 that are outside. They're good friends outside of the work that they're doing, and I think it is especially meaningful to be doing something as unique and fascinating as a spacewalk, especially with someone that you know really cares about you, and that's the case with those 2, Christina and Jessica. So watch for that communication that is outside the normal, and I think you'll get a sense for the camaraderie that you have outside the space station today.
All right, thanks so much for joining us. We're 43 minutes into what is planned to be a 5.5-hour spacewalk, so we should have a lot of fun left to go.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Brandy. It's been a pleasure.
I have Papa Papa Foxtrot set.
Copy, Christina. Those are good settings. You can perform a safety tether swap onto the SSRMS. First lock your green hook, and then relocate your yellow hook to the SSRMS lee forward tether point.
Copy that.
As you can see, the spacewalkers and the International Space Station have moved into the daylight portion of this orbit around the Earth. currently over the Pacific Ocean, heading towards the coast of South America, or Central America rather. And this a view of Christina Koch in her spacesuit with the red stripe to differentiate her from Jessica Meir with an all-white spacesuit. And it looks like this view is coming from the space station's robotic arm, which is just within reach of Koch, so that she can get that foot restraint installed on the end of it, which she will then climb into and use to move from here to the P4 work site. Then she'll have a little ways to carry the battery charge discharge unit to get it out to the P6 solar array.
Now.
Jessica, say again your last.
And Stephanie, this gap spanner is really loose. I think I'm going to try to tighten it up a bit.
Jessica, we copy.
And for EV1, my green hook is locked.
Copy.
And confirm I am taking my yellow hook to the forward SRMS handrail.
That's affirmative. Relocate yellow hook to SSRMS Lee forward tether point.
Copy. Stephanie, tighten that gap spanner up quite a bit on the outboard side. I think it'll be a little bit more useful that way.
Jessica, we copy. As you're tightening or once you're complete with that, can you also give us the 180-degree turn test of the turn of the buckle so that there's 1 inch of slack?
Yes, there still is over an inch of slack.
We copy that. Thank you.
Getting our first view here from Christina Koch's helmet camera, which you will be able to tell is coming from her by the number 18 embossed in the lower right-hand corner throughout the day. And although it's a little shaky, this is a view of that foot restraint that she'll be installing there on the end of the robotic arm. She has installed, rather.
My green wheel is locked.
Copy, green wheel locked. Stow your green hook on P4 handrail 5104.
Copy, and work.
As we promised, we're going to be taking Ask NASA questions from social media throughout today's spacewalk, and we'll take advantage of a few minutes of quiet to answer a few here. First up, we have a question from Amanda asking, what's the most challenging task for Koch and Meir during their spacewalk today? Just the spacewalk itself is, as we talked about with Tracy, Caldwell, Dyson, really physically and mentally demanding. But as far as specific tasks, nothing that they are doing is in itself hard, but the pieces of equipment they'll be moving around are bulky, and moving around with them attached to their tethers or in their handholds can be challenging. The main task for the spacewalk is to change out an old battery charge discharge unit that we've had a problem with for a new one that has been stored as a spare on the space station. So that'll take about 3.5 hours to get that done, and then they'll wrap up with a few get-aheads if there is time.
Green wheel should unlock. Copy unlocked.
Christina Koch moving through the steps to get her foot restraint set up on the robotic arm. And we also have a question from Renee.
I believe that the APFR ingress location is moved from here, so standby 1.
Renee's asking what happens during the swap of the failed power unit. Will electricity black out for the time of the repair? And no, the space station actually has a total of 24 of these battery charged discharge units that are taking in and putting out power from the station's 4 solar arrays. So they do have plenty of power. We just do want to have the full amount of power that we can get. So we want to get this swapped out.
Copy and standby 1. I need to verify my EPFR settings.
Copy.
And Stephanie, I've got all 4 scoops in the bag, so I believe my next step is to head over to the APFR, bundle the bag, and then bring the APFR to 2 Bravo.
That's affirmative, Jessica, and you'll also change the pitch to Papa Papa.
Copy, Papa Papa.
Good readback.
View here from Jessica Meir's helmet camera. She's working through the steps of this work site setup with Stephanie Wilson here on the ground. She's first been retrieving some handles that will be used during today's spacewalk, moving them off of the batteries that were going to be replaced, and they'll be used on both the old battery charge discharge unit and the new one to move those around. She's also picking up a foot restraint that she'll be installing back at P6, the segment of the truss that they'll be spending the most time working at today.
Christina, we copy? And yes, please work with Luca.
Okay, Luca, I am ready when you are.
Okay, Christina, I'm going to GCA to the published APFR ingress position and then take ulterior motions from you if necessary. And it's going to be a motion towards the X station forward, about 1 meter.
Copy that and concur.
Starting motion.
Copy.
Hearing Luca Parmitano's voice added to the mix as he is driving the space station's robotic arm. We're getting this view from a camera on the robotic arm, so you see it moving away from Christina Koch there. Koch is at what we call the CETA cart. That stands for Crew Equipment and Translation Aid Cart.
Copy. And Lisa, that looks like a good position. I'll give it a go for the ingress. GCA complete.
Copy, GCA complete. Brakes are on.
Copy.
Go for APFR ingress.
Copy, brakes on, go for ingress.
Once Cook is in this foot restraint on the robotic arm, it will move her to the location of that spare, the new battery charge discharge unit, where she'll be picking it up. View of another foot restraint that Jessica Meir is picking up. This was, again, going to be used in the battery swap task that had been planned for the next spacewalk, but they'll need it today, so she's going to pick it up now and move it to the P6 work site. Or this is also on P6, but a different P6 work site, so that she and Christina Koch can use it today. Seeing a lot of Ask NASA questions come in, so we'll try and answer a few while we have a quiet moment. This one from Noni, who is first of all saying good luck to the spacewalkers, and then asking how heavy are the spacesuits and do they impact the astronauts? On the ground, these spacesuits would weigh about 300 pounds, so they are definitely heavy, not easy to use in gravity. A little easier, of course, in microgravity where they're able to float, but still pretty bulky and hard to maneuver in. It takes a lot to protect the astronauts from the vacuum of space, and this is basically their own personal spaceship, so it has everything they need to survive outside of the space station. So they have to be careful and be really trained in how to move around in the spacesuits. They also, well, as we talked about before they left the airlock, add padding inside the spacesuit to make sure they kind of stay positioned in it as is most comfortable and most helpful, so that, for instance, their hands aren't slipping out of the gloves when they bend their elbow, or they're not moving around inside their boots when they're getting into the foot restraints, as Christina Koch is here. Mr. Wilson's science class from Jones Middle School in Florence, Kentucky have a question as they are watching the spacewalk, and they are wanting to know how the astronauts train for the spacewalks. Yeah.
Copy, you've ingressed and ingress aid is stowed. Nice work. Retrieve the medium ORU bag. That is temp stowed on handrail 5120, and place it on your BRT.
Thanks, copy.
Christina Koch, they're reporting that she is in that foot restraint now. So she'll be getting her
GCA for that retrieval when you're ready.
Give me a second to set it up, and I'll go for your GCA.
Getting back to Mr. Wilson's science class question, the astronauts have a number of different ways that they train here on the ground. One of the main ones is inside the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory, which is an enormous 40-foot deep swimming pool.
Copy. 20 centimeters towards your feet, station forward.
We have an enormous full-size mock-up of the space station inside the pool, so they're able to move around on it just as they do in space. But underwater isn't a perfect comparison, so we also do virtual reality training with the spacewalkers, and we have a system that puts them in a harness and uses pulleys to make it feel like they are in zero gravity so that they can see how the tools work and how they're moving around in microgravity will feel a little better than they do in the swimming pool.
There's your 20 centimeters.
Okay, I will take an additional 20, please.
Okay, another 20. Same direction.
Yes, sir.
Start in motion.
Copy.
And there's your additional 20.
Copy. This will be good. We can call that GCA complete.
GCA complete. Brakes coming on.
Copy. Okay, can you confirm brakes are on?
Brakes are on, sorry.
Copy. And that was GCA complete, right? A-firm. Okay, Stephanie, I have the ATFR and Papa, and I'm going to get this on my BRT and bring this over to 2 Bravo and with 38, correct?
Jessica, that is all correct.
Okay, copy, in work. EDMORU bag is installed on my BRT.
Copy, Christina. When you are happy and ready for motion, you can ask Luca or give Luca a go to maneuver to the ELC-1 BCDU worksite.
Copy. Luca, I am ready for motion to the BCDU worksite on ELC-1.
Christina, copy. There will be first back-off maneuver away from structure, and then it will be joint TOCAS.
Copy.
Cook there confirming that she's got everything she needs in place to begin moving on board that robotic arm that Luca Parmitano is driving.
I noticed that just because face each other is currently behind my helmet. Deconflict that.
The brakes are on.
Copy, brakes are on.
You can see in this view from Jessica Meir's helmet camera a good view of the mirrors that the astronauts wear on their wrist. And we actually have a question from a 7th grade class in West Orange, New Jersey about why they wear those. That is way that the crew can see the controls on their spacesuit, which are on the chest of the spacesuit. With the helmets and the bulky spacesuits themselves, they're not able to bend their necks and look down, so they use those mirrors to see the controls in them and adjust them as needed. They can do things like adjust the water in the undergarments that they wear to keep them at a comfortable temperature as they move through the day and night cycles on the International Space Station. And to help with that, those controls are actually printed backwards so that they show up correctly in the mirror. Still seeing Christina Koch there on the end of the robotic arm. It is going to be moving her to the external logistics carrier number 1. That's where the spare battery charge discharge unit is waiting for her to pick up and then carry over to first the P4 work site, or a work site on P4 truss. She'll get out of the off of the robotic arm there and with the help of Jessica Meir, carry the battery charge discharge unit over to P6 where they'll be installing it.
Tethers have been cleared. I can confirm all the tethers are in a good config.
Nice work, Christina.
This is Luca. Great job on that. And I'm going to start setting up the arm for the backup maneuver.
Copy.
Christina, we are starting motion. It will be straight back away from structure.
Copy, you ready for motion. I see good motion.
View here of Christina Koch beginning that ride to the external logistics carrier. Arm moves very slowly and carefully. And it is being driven by Space Station Commander Luca Parmitano, who is inside the space station's cupola at the controls of the arm. see the one of the space station's solar array panels coming into view in the top left-hand side of the screen. That gives you an idea of the scale of those solar arrays, which are enormous. There's 4 sets of those. This one's on the starboard side. The crew will be working on the port side for most of the spacewalk.
Christina, when it's a good time, I'll take a glove and hap check.
Copy. Check and work. For EV1 gloves, no change, dry hap.
Copy, no change, dry hap. PET is about 1 hour, 10 minutes. Limiting consumable, 7 hours, 45 minutes for EV1 battery power.
EV1 copy. EV2 copy.
Capcom Stephanie Wilson there giving the crew a status update. She mentioned we are now 1 hour and 10 minutes into today's spacewalk, the historic first for a spacewalk to be conducted by 2 women. And we do have a number of school classes watching, including Mrs. Harrison's environmental science class. They sent in a question using the hashtag AskNASA, and they want to know how long the battery that we are replacing lasted. And we're not actually replacing a battery here. It's a discharge unit for a battery, which makes sure that we get a standard level of power sent to the space station systems. But it's actually been on board the space station for about 19 years. It was first integrated on STS-97 in December of 2000. So it had a good long life, but we do have some spares on board. There are 24 of these installed on the International Space Station, one for each of the power strings.
Motion on 2.5 minute junk forecast.
Copy, and I'm ready.
Starting motion.
This is the second one that we've replaced. We had another one fail earlier this year in a similar situation after some of the new batteries were installed. So we'll be taking a look at what might be causing that before we go forward with the spacewalks that had been planned to continue replacing the old nickel hydrogen batteries with new lithium ion ones.
Christina, if it's a good time, I have 1 warning and 2 cautions for ELC1.
It's a good time. I'm ready for warnings and cautions.
The warning is to avoid contact with the payload, RRM-3, due to exposed sharp edges, corners, protrusions, entrapment, pinch points, and structural damage.
Copy. I will avoid it, and I have eyes on it.
Copy. And the 2 cautions: minimize contact with Z93, that's the paint or the thermal coating on the XPECA, and no vigorous body motion on ELC1.
Copy both. Okay, Stephanie, I've got a clocking of 8, black on black, and a good pull twist test.
Copy, Jessica. Double check wire ties tucked under the boot plate.
Work. I can confirm that now. Wire ties are tucked under the boot plate.
Copy. The rest of the settings are Papa Papa Fox 12.
See Papa Papa Fox and 12 is set.
Copy that. Next, install 2 scoops on the outboardmost BCDU. For H1 and H2, the handles will both go towards the radiator.
Great view of Jessica Cook there on the end of the robotic arm, still making her way to the external logistics carrier where the new battery charge discharge unit is awaiting. We're seeing her with the Earth in the background. The space station's currently coming up on the coast of Europe at the moment, and still have a fair amount of time left in this daylight portion of the orbit before they move into night. Meanwhile, Jessica Meir is beginning to remove those handles that she's been picking up.
We do. We have good video. Thank you.
Or rather, installing them.
Christina, DCV-1, Robo 1, we are ready to fly you to the publish MLI cover position. It's a manual motion, so when you're go for me to start moving, I'm ready.
Hey, Luca, I'm a go.
And this is going to be, I'm going to start motion towards the ELC.
Motion.
Good motion.
While Cook is continuing to make her way to the logistics carrier with the new battery charge discharge unit, Jessica Meir is installing 2 of the handles that she picked up from the old batteries onto the old battery charge discharge unit. She's then going to get a ratchet wrench ready for Cook's use a little later in the spacewalk, and then she'll be moving to the logistics carrier herself, where she'll drop off a bag and the wrench for Christina Cook to use. View here from her helmet, from Jessica Meir's helmet camera.
Christina, you are at the publish position.
Okay, copy. Let's continue motion in that direction. We'll start with another 10 centimeters for now.
Copy, another 10 centimeters into the same direction.
Agreed. Good motion.
That's 10 for you.
Copy. And I think we'll need another 10, and that should do it. In the same direction. I am ready.
Okay, moving another 10 centimeters in the same direction.
Agreed.
And that's your 10 centimeters.
Okay, and now that I'm here, and apologies for inching us our way there, but I've got the PGT out now of assessing reach, and I think I'll take another 10. Direction.
Copy, and please verify that your ingress aid is tucked in and all the clearances are good, and I'll move you in another 10.
Okay, I can verify that. Ingress aid is stowed. All clearances are good.
Okay, starting motion.
And good motion. Luca, is that our 10?
Yes, you have 10 centimeters there.
Copy. Let's go ahead and call this GCA complete.
Okay, copy. GCA complete, brakes are on.
Copy, brakes are on.
View here from Christina Koch's helmet camera. She's reporting to Luca Parmitano that she is happy where she is at the external logistics carrier.
ORU bag tether point to the aft MLI loop.
Copy and work.
And we are 10 seconds to a 20-second handover.
Stephanie, can you confirm the handle?
Short handover of satellites that send us video down from the International Space Station. Should be coming back in just a moment.
The amazing view out here is phenomenal.
And Jessica, the scoop handles are towards the radiator.
Copy, that's in work.
View there of Keith Johnson, who's the lead spacewalk officer, working from the ground today.
The MLI of the BCDU.
Copy, Christina. And up to you for the MLI removal steps to assess your access and whether or not you need to egress the APFR.
Okay, and I think I have good access for those bolts in the APFR.
Copy, Christina. Then let me know when you're ready for PGT setting.
I'm ready.
Alpha 7, counterclockwise 2.
Okay, confirm Alpha 7 and not 2, counter 2.
Christina, I'm sorry, please repeat your PGT setting.
I wanted to verify that it was Alpha 7 and not Alpha 2 for these MLI bolts.
It is Alpha 2, counterclockwise 2.
Christina Koch, they're working with Stephanie Wilson to get into the first task now that she is at the new battery charge discharge unit. She's going to be removing some insulation cover, and to do that she will be removing 2 bolts as well as some Velcro and a couple of straps.
Copy.
View here from Cook's helmet camera as she gets started on one of those bolts.
Copy. On the nadir bolt, release, expect 15.4 to 17.9 turns.
Copy, in work. Hey, Stephanie, both of those are on, and they are handles are pointed towards the radiator. I think I'm going to do a socket off now with the ratchet from my PGT.
That's affirmative.
And Stephanie, I have released the Nader Bolt, 17 turns.
Copy, Nader Bolt released, 17 turns. Next is the Zenith Bolt, same settings, Alpha 2, counterclockwise 2.
Copy, Alpha 2, counter 2 set.
Cook, they're reporting that she's got the first of 2 bolts released on the installation, starting on the second, while Jessica Meir reports that she's got the handles that she was installing on the old battery charge discharge unit done. And her next step will be to get a ratchet wrench prepared for Cook's use, and then begin making her way to the external logistics carrier where this old battery charge discharge unit is.
And the bolt appears released at 14 turns.
Copy, Zenith Bolt released at 14 turns.
The Ask NASA questions are continuing to pour in, so we'll take another one now. This one coming from a 6th grade class in New Jersey. Miss Bandera asking how long this repair will take to complete. And the actual swap of the old for the new battery charge discharge unit will take about 3.5 hours, but the total length of the spacewalk today is planned to be about 5.5 hours because the crew members are also going to get a few other get-ahead tasks done. And just as another data point,
We have a good pull twist test on the socket.
Copy, Jessica, good pull test.
The longest spacewalk that has been done was 8 hours and 56 minutes. That was in 2001 on March 11th, and actually a female spacewalker participated in it as well. That was Susan Helms during the STS-102 mission, working on space station assembly.
Place the crew lock bag on your BRT and translate back to your green hook to retrieve it.
Okay, copy. In work. And Stephanie, looks like I'm going to need a couple more turns on that Zenith bolt, so I'll be putting a few more. Being Alpha 2, clockwise 2.
Alpha 2, counter clockwise 2.
Sorry, counter. Yep, that's the firm thing. Counter 2.
Copy that, and we concur with a few more turns.
Work. That did it with 4 more turns.
Copy an additional 4 turns on the Zenith bolt.
I have to ask, where are we flying over? It's beautiful.
Christina, Jessica, we are flying over the Middle East.
View of Christina Koch here at the external logistics carrier where that old, the new rather, battery charge discharge unit is and asking the ground to confirm where they are flying over right now because it's such a good view. The answer was south of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. They're also just about to move into another nighttime portion of this orbit around the Earth, so things will be getting a little darker. With crews making good time on their spacewalk task with...
I've got the crew-like bag on my right now. I just need to get that on my DRT, and then I'll be heading back inboard. Great.
Crews making good time on their task with Christina Koch working to remove the thermal insulation cover that's been protecting the new battery charge discharge unit, and Jessica Meir getting ready to make her way over to where Koch is working, drop off some tools and begin another task.
Copy. We are going to have to back you out for a second, and then we'll be ready for the GCA.
Okay, copy that. Ready for motion.
Starting motion.
Copy. Motion.
Now we are reconfiguring to internal.
Copy.
And Christina, we are ready for your GCA for your next position for the MLI removal.
Okay, copy that. I think maybe as a starting point, we could try the low hover position. I don't know if that position has us backing away anymore, but it might be a good position in terms of the X value for the forward motion.
Okay, I'm going to fly to do the low hover if you're ready for motion.
Ready for motion.
First motion is down towards your feet.
Copy. And ready. Good motion.
Copy the motion. And now I'm going to pitch you up about 30 degrees.
Lucas, let's hold up on that if that's part of that that particular published position. I don't think I need to pitch. I will take, if we can go ahead and just start doing raw GCA, I'll take continued motion towards my feet, and we can say about 20 more centimeters for starters.
If you don't mind, Christina, I'm going to do that pitch, do another snapshot per procedure,
Okay.
then take your GCA.
Okay, that's perfect. No worries. Sounds good.
Starting motion.
Copy. Motion.
Motion.
With those two bolts that were holding the insulation in place on the new battery charge discharge unit taken off, Christina Koch's getting some assistance from Luca Parmitano at the controls of the robotic arm, moving into a better position to continue removing that insulation. She'll also need to remove some Velcro and two straps that are on the underside of the hardware. And meanwhile, Jessica Meir is on her way to the external logistics carrier where Koch is working right now. View from her helmet camera as she is making her way hand over hand to that storage location so that she can drop off some tools and then, if there is enough time, start on an early get-ahead task to disconnect an Ethernet cable.
And Christina, I'm ready for your EVA, or your GCA.
Okay, copy that. Go ahead and do station 4, so in the direction of my feet, we'll start with 20 centimeters.
20 centimeters towards your feet.
Agreed. Motion.
Copy, good motion. And that's 20.
Okay. I'll start work here on this MOI, so we'll call that GCA complete for now.
Copy, GCA complete, brakes coming on, and the brakes are on.
Copy, brakes are on. And Jessica, that was GCA complete. You need to come.
Okay, copy. I'm headed back to you, and I've already retrieved my green hook.
Copy that. I see your safety tether bouncing. Figured you were close by.
Jessica, one caution for the ELC. No vigorous body motion once on the ELC. And when you translate on to the ELC, you can do so via the forward nadir CMG.
Copy.
View here from Christina's helmet camera as she's removed that insulation and is stuffing it in her one of her tool bags for storage. With that complete, she'll be able to move on to the next task, which is actually removing the new battery charge discharge unit. To do that, she'll install some of the helmets that Jessica Meir is bringing over for her, loosen some bolts, or remove some bolts, and then she'll be able to pick it up.
And I have a great view of you, Nana.
Copy that.
land eyes on you yet. Oh, now I do. Hi, you're close. Sure am.
Jessica, when convenient, power cycle.
Timing is perfect because
Jessica, press your WVS power button.
Copy.
Jessica, the crew lock bag can be stowed on the Nader CMG Fram handrail.
Copy that. I'm in there now, and it's in work.
Copy.
And Christina, I'm just going to put this one big hook down so that there's a lot of leeway for you to reach it. Okay. I was even going to suggest, since I'm almost done with this medium ORU bag, I wonder if it might benefit, since it will take quite a bit of GCA, I can tell, for me to get down to that bag. Maybe just do the handoff while you're here. Works for me. Stephanie, what do you think?
Jessica, Christina, we like your plan.
Copy. Will just be a few more minutes for stuffing in this MOI bag.
Good view here of both Christina Koch and Jessica Meir, both in the view from the robotic camera on the space station's robotic arm here. You can see Christina Koch at the kind of in the middle of the screen above Jessica Meir, who has made her way to the external logistics carrier that Christina Koch has been working at, and now that she's there, she'll be handing off a tool bag to Koch so that Koch can take out some handles that she picked up for her. Logistics carrier is used to store spares, and once she's dropped that off, Jessica Meir is going to be moving on to a get-ahead task, that is to disconnect an Ethernet cable.
WVS, we do have video, but it is a bit jumpy, so we would like a true power cycle if you would push the button once to take it off and then bring it back on for us.
Okay, copy that. In work. And the power cycle is complete, Stephanie.
Thank you. That recovered it. And I'll take a glove inspection and a HEP check from you.
Okay, copy. For EV2, my HAP is dry. Looking at the glove, I have a few eraser marks. Other than that, looking nominal.
Copy dry HAP and copy your glove report. Thank you.
An hour and 45 minutes into today's spacewalk, Jessica Meir reporting that her gloves look good and there's no water in her helmet, so that's all good signs. While we wait for her to move on to the next task, we'll take another couple of Ask NASA questions. First one from Smithsonian's STEM in 30 show asking, did Christina and Jessica train for the specific task they're doing, or was the training more generic? And the answer on this one is that they did some generic training to prepare for this. We did not plan to do this spacewalk until we had some problems with the old battery charge discharge unit. So this was a bit of a spur of the moment spacewalk, but the crew members, all of the crew members on the space station, training station. This one's pretty standard work, although they haven't specifically done this one before. We do have crew members who train for very specific tasks. For example, Andrew Morgan and Luca Parmitano are going to be doing some repairs to the alpha magnetic spectrometer on board the space station. And because that wasn't planned to be repaired in space, there are a lot of unique tasks associated with doing that spacewalk, so they trained extensively on the ground to be prepared to do that work.
Stephanie, while the team is checking on that, to have the MLI stuff in the MLI bag.
Copy that. Nice work. Jessica, what we'd like you to do is take the medium ORU bag, take that with you to the ORU back to the airlock. We think you'll have time to do all of that before you need to meet up with Christina for the BCDU removal.
Okay, copy that. So I'm going to take the MLI bag with me to do the MDM task, and then I'll just temp stow it, or leave it on my beer. I'll probably temp stow it when I'm doing that task, and then bring it to the airlock? Or did you say bring it to the airlock before the MDM task?
Jessica, we'd like you to take it with you en route to the MDM task, and yes, you can temp stow it there, but complete the MDM task first, and then if there's time, we'll have you go to the airlock to stow it in the airlock.
Okay, copy off. And I think we're ready for the badge swap if you guys want to lead us through that.
We're ready for the swap.
I think, Christina, if I leave it on my BRT, that'll give you the most. Copy. Stand by, let me get this tether off. Okay, and this is still routed to my BRT, Jessica. Okay, copy. And got to do a switcheroo there. I'll work. And stand by before you release anything. I'm going to rep to the crew lock bag. Okay, copy.
Good view there of Christina Koch and Jessica Meir swapping basically tool bags that they've been using. Jessica Meir was using hers to pick up some handles and other equipment that were on the old batteries that had been planned to be swapped out.
Yeah, that sounds good. If you want to release that for me, that'll be perfect. When it zings back, I'll put it straight on this MLI bag.
She's handing those off to Koch, and Koch is handing her the bag holding the insulation that she just removed.
Perfect, thank you.
After this, Koch can begin removing the new battery charge discharge unit to get it on its way over to the P6 truss where it will be installed. And Meir is going to be working to disconnect an Ethernet cable on what they've called, you've heard him call the MDM, which is the multiplexer, demultiplexer piece of equipment used basically to process data on the space station. She's going to be disconnecting an Ethernet cable and tying it down.
1 minute, 30 seconds.
On my VRT.
Night in 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Copy. Stephanie, I have the crew lock bag. I'm ready for steps. And Jessica, jump in if you need steps before you're on your way. I think I've got mine. So go ahead. Your marching orders. Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Stephanie.
Christina, with the crew lock bag on your BRT, next would be the GCA to access H1 and H2.
Okay, and I have good access to those now, so no GCA required.
One copies.
Copy. Tell us the serial number.
North. I see 0028.
Copy 0028, that's expected. Install 2 scoops, one on H1, one on H2, with the handles pointing station forward.
Copy.
Continuing with the questions that are coming in using the hashtag AskNASA, we have Miss Struckman's 5th grade class wanting to know how many people are in space right now. And there are currently 6 people living and working on the International Space Station. That includes, of course, our spacewalkers for today, Christina, Koch, and Jessica Meir, as well as NASA's Andrew Morgan, who's a flight engineer, European Space Agency, or ESA astronaut Luca Parmitano, who is commander of the space station right now, and then their Russian crewmates, Alexander Skvortsov and Oleg Skropochka. We also have a question from Ashley, who says they've got 40 girls watching a live stream at Girls Academic Leadership Academy in Los Angeles. And they want to know, why were you counting how many times you unscrewed the bolt, and why are those details important? The crew members keep careful count of how many turns they make of each bolt or screw on the space station, so that they know exactly how tight those are, and that they are tightened down to exactly what the engineers here on the ground recommend, and they keep track of those details, so that as we have future spacewalks, they know what to expect if they need to remove it in the future, or and also just to have the assurance that it did get exactly as tight as it was supposed to.
Jessica, for the Epic MDM, you're headed zenith on phase 1 of S0, and there is one caution: avoid inadvertent contact with deployed test cable and passive UMAs.
Okay, copy that, and I am on phase 1 now.
Copy.
And Stephanie, for V1, I have 2 scoops installed, handles pointing forward, and I have the ratchet wrench in my hand.
Copy. Brett to the H1 scoop, locking it out with slack.
And work.
Christina Koch reporting that she's got those handles installed on the new battery charge discharge unit. Next step will be to, if needed, move into a better position with the robotic arm for releasing the bolts that are holding the new battery charge discharge unit down.
Before each attempt to break torque with a ratchet wrench, confirm no motion of ELC1 or SSRMS, and react all loads through the scoop when breaking torque on H1 and H2.
Copy all.
H1 and H2 are the 2 bolts that Christina Koch will be removing. Again, those are what's holding the old unit, or the new unit, down. I have 2 similar bolts on the old unit that we'll be removing once we get out to the P6 site.
H2, or do you need a GCA?
I do. I have good access. I have the ratchet wrench installed on the H1 scoop, tape line flush.
Copy tape line flush on H1, brake torque less than 1 turn.
Copy and work. Torque broken on H1, quarter turn.
Copy quarter turn H1. Confirm tape line flush on H2.
And work. Tape line flush on H2.
Copy on H2, brake torque less than 1 turn.
Broken on H2, quarter turn.
Copy quarter turn on H2. Can stow the ratchet wrench back in the crew lock bag. Once you have your PGT, I'll have settings for you.
And any other work out of the crew lock bag, is it a good time to just completely close it up and get it nice and stowed on my BRT?
I believe that's correct. Let me check.
Doing, Jessica? Doing well. I'm on phase 1. I'm just passing the starboard Cedar cart. Hey.
And Jessica, we copy as well. And Christina, that's affirmed. We are complete with the crew lock bag.
Could you please say again? We broke up a little bit there.
Copy that. Sorry. Yes, we are complete with the crew lock bag. You can button that up. And we also copied Jessica's location.
Cook confirming there that now that she's used the ratchet wrench to loosen those 2 bolts, she can put it away and get her toolbox kind of into a good storage order before she uses the pistol grip tool, which is similar to an electronic screwdriver that we'd use here on the ground, but sturdy enough for space. She'll use that to actually remove those bolts on the new battery charge discharge unit.
Crew lock bag is stowed.
Copy crew lock bag. Stowed on your BRT.
That's affirmed. Stephanie, I am ready for next step.
Yes, I will have PGT settings when you're ready.
Okay, and I'm ready for those settings.
Alpha 7, counterclockwise 2.
Copy. And Stephanie, I have arrived at phase 1 at the MDM site. I'm going to work on a temp stow. And I'm assuming I can just temp stow this on phase 1 because we'll be picking it up later even if we don't bring it right now.
And Jessica, if there is a location starboard of the MDM, that's what we would suggest as the temp stow for the medium ORU bag. And things are working so well with efficiency and timing. Once you stow the medium ORU bag, we'll have you head back to P4 so that you can sync up with Christina.
Okay, so I won't do the MDM now?
And Jessica, that's correct. Based on the timing of the choreography, we will not have time for this task at this time.
Okay, copy that. Stephanie, I'm back with you. I have the PGT with settings Alpha 7, counter 2 set, and I am installed on the H1 scoop tape line flush.
Copy all. Good report. Release H1, about 7 turns.
Work.
Christina, Koch getting started on actually removing those 2 bolts on the new battery charge discharge unit. And you also heard their Capcom Stephanie Wilson call up to Jessica Meir that because Koch is a little ahead of schedule on removing the new unit, they want Meir to go ahead and start heading out to the P4 work site where she will meet up with Koch, rather than doing that get-ahead task to disconnect an Ethernet cable.
All the way to 7 turns, status indicator is unlocked for H1. Same settings for H2. Thank you. Same settings for H2, Alpha 7, counterclockwise 2.
Okay, those are set, and I'm installed on H2, tape line flush.
Copy tape line flush, release H2, about 19 turns.
Work. And Stephanie, the MDM, or the medium ORU bag is still just starboard of the MDM at mile marker 7350 on the face 1 handrail.
Copy face 1 handrail, mile marker 7350.
That's correct. Okay, and I will start heading back to Christina.
Copy, thank you.
And I have released H2, 18 turns.
Copy, Christina, 18 turns on H2. Check status indicator unlock.
Status indicator is unlocked.
Copy, you can stow the PGT once your hands are free and then unlock the ret.
Christina Koch has both of those bolts released now, so she should be able to put away the pistol grip tool she used to unscrew them, and then be able to move to remove the...
Copy, also check your gauntlets in place. This is just prior to you having the box in your hand.
Remove that new battery charge discharge unit from where it's been stored here on the external logistics carrier.
You can remove the unit from soft dock.
We are removed from soft dock.
Copy. Once you are happy, you can work with Luca and give him a go to maneuver to the P4 setup position.
See that, Stephanie. Jessica, before I work with Luca, did you need to give any words in? I don't think so. I'm just headed back to you, and it's C106 handrail that I'm looking for, Stephanie.
Jessica, the location on P4 is handrail 5106.
We're now at 2 hours and 4 minutes into today's spacewalk, and everything's moving quickly, going well for the 2 spacewalkers. In fact, Christina Koch's a little ahead of schedule, so Jessica Meir is skipping a get-ahead task so that she can sync up with Koch, where they will meet up on the P4 truss segment for the movement from there with the new battery charge discharge unit to its ultimate home on P6.
And my gauntlets are in place.
And we know that many people are still watching, and we're getting still lots of questions and well wishes from people at home and in schools. And we've got a few more here to share. This one from Andrew Kilgore, saying that one of the favorite pastimes for him and his daughter is to watch the space station fly over, and that his daughter finds it inspiring not only to see it flying over, but that there are women up there on the space station performing a spacewalk today. We also have one from John Beatty showing a go girl, go girl, go girls go sign that his daughters have made. And finally, this one from Isabel showing her 4.5-year-old daughter in her own flight suit there. Thanks so much for all the well wishes that everybody is sending in. Keep sending them in, and also keep sending in your questions using the hashtag AskNASA. We'll keep answering those throughout today's spacewalk.
The next is going to be a jocast, setting it up.
Copy. So I guess we'll call that UCA complete for the manual maneuver.
And copy, and setting it up for the jocast, it will be from this position.
Copy. Nice little motion.
We are in position hold, Christina, so you shouldn't feel any motion.
Okay, copy that. I think it was just the momentum of the valve. If you have time to look, there's a beautiful sunrise developing. Yeah, I'm looking at it. I am at 5106 right now. Oh, so I'm in position, watching the sunset. Place to be.
We copy, Jessica.
Jessica Meir reporting that she is in place at the P4 truss where Christina will be moving with the new battery charge discharge unit. And as she mentioned, the space station will be coming into the daylight portion of this orbit in just a couple of minutes. She'll be able to watch the sunrise over the South Pacific Ocean.
Sunrise in 3 minutes.
Copy, Stephanie.
When things are quiet, we'll take a couple more Ask NASA questions. This one is coming from Mrs. Landry's 5th grade science class. And they're asking, since the space station is solar powered, what happens to the energy when you're on the dark side of the Earth? And the answer to that is one of the things that the battery charge discharge unit takes care of. It makes sure that while the solar arrays are getting full sunlight, it actually generates more power than the space station needs. So it stores that extra power and then makes sure that the power levels stay steady going from the solar arrays to the space station's system when it moves into the dark periods of the orbit around the Earth, so that just because they move into the dark, they don't have to turn off any of the science experiments. Getting this battery charge discharge unit back in order will help ensure that this power string on the space station can generate its full 12 to 15 kilowatts for the space station. Right now, it's with one of the 3 battery charge discharge unit sets down, they're getting about 4 or 5 kilowatts less than they like to see on that string. Again, in all, there's about 24 of these battery charge discharge units on the space station. This is the second one that they've replaced.
Christina, Jessica, just a heads up, we may experience Radicom for the next 5 minutes.
Copy that. Thanks, Professor. I've got a good view of you, Christina. I'm basically just port, and of course still active view. Okay. I'm assuming that this maneuver is going to bring you, okay, yeah, I see it, it's still bringing you port. Okay, copy. And if you can see where my green hook is just inboard of where I will end up. Yep, I can see your green hook. Perfect. It's 2 handrails away from me. But you're in just the right spot. Good call.
Hey, Christina, we're ready for motion. This is going to be a 2.5-minute jawcast.
Copy. I'm ready for the 2.5-minute jawcast.
Starting motion.
Copy.
While Christina Koch begins her ride on the robotic arm over to the P4 truss segment, we're going to take a second to acknowledge that not only are we celebrating this historic first with 2 women performing a spacewalk at the International Space Station today, but we're also celebrating the many firsts that have come before it, and we're going to show you next one from astronaut Shannon Lucid. Having just seen that video, it's also a good time to mark that today is also the 30th anniversary of the launch of Space Shuttle Atlantis on the STS-34 mission. And Shannon Lucid was on board that space shuttle as it went to send the Galileo probe to Jupiter. Also on board was astronaut Ellen Baker.
Kind of be ready for your translation so that when we pop it in, you can just head out and we'll know that, fins are out, you've got H1, all that. Yeah, so I think I'm going to be in either this or this orientation. Okay. So the way I have my BRT right now. Yep.
Great view here of both Christina Koch on the end of the robotic arm with the red stripes on the legs of her spacesuit, and just visible below her, Jessica Meir waiting at the P4 truss segment.
It's probably good because your BRT stays inboard, and so I can separate it. And I don't see any reason that we can't just carry that all the way outboard along the handrails. Okay. When we get to the PBR, you know, we may have to pivot a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. Okay, copy.
And Christina, you are in position hold. From this position, we can take a GCA for the handoff or whatever you tell me.
See that, and we had discussed Jessica would take this GCA, so Jessica, I'll let you take over. Okay, let's just think about how we're going to do this right now. Okay. So you have H2 in your hand, right? I have, that's correct, I'm read it to H2, yes. And we haven't started, we'll say we haven't started GCA yet, so let's ask Stephanie. Stephanie, do we have it correct that I'll be handing H2 and that will be going into Jessica's BRT?
Checking. Christina and Jessica, either way will work.
Okay. I think that the one advantage of me handing you H1 is that you can do the rep swap. Not a huge deal either way. Right, and then we also need to think about fins being back. So when I hand it to you, I could pivot it like this, and then you could complete pivot to keep the fins away.
Christina, FYI. You structure it then where we are now.
Okay, copy that. Let's hold off just for a moment, but I think I like your idea of getting into that position before we make all our final plans. Yeah, I think we are going to need closer, and I'm also going to watch. I'm going to try to with a little fair lead to my safety tether here because I don't want that to end up in the fins. That's what I was thinking as well. So with your orientation, Jessica, I think this handoff position might be the best, where I actually have the fins facing forward. Okay. I've got a fair lead right now, so that my safety tether's out of your way. It's yes, fair lead right in front of me. I like how you have the fins right there. Yep. Okay. I wonder if we can actually get it directly on my BRT. That's what I'm hoping. Do you think a half meter, like Lucas said, will be too much in, or should we go ahead and take that and then evaluate from that published? I think we should come in maybe 0.25 meters instead, and then we might need to come a little bit closer to me. Okay, copy. Yeah, Luca, let's take half of that distance that you said for published.
Copy. I'll put that in work and I'll let you know when I'm starting motion.
Okay, copy. And I can get your fair lead. Hold off on for now. It's just in front of me, so it should be fine. Copy.
Starting motion towards the station.
Copy. Ready. Good motion.
Copy. Good motion. And that's your 25.
Okay, Luca, you can stop there. Okay, Christina, I probably can just come back to you.
Brakes are coming on.
Copy, brakes are coming on.
Brakes are on.
Copy, brakes on. Jessica, yep, I agree. At the same time, though, you know, if you've got a better handrail config in one spot, we do have to do safe capability, so you can evaluate that. But it looks like 5105 is also going to work. So if I get a little bit closer, do you think you can get the BRT on there? I think I could. I might actually say that a little more inward would help me achieve that. Maybe your BRT force me a little bit. I think that having maybe even a little more GCA inboard. Okay, stand by. Copy. Take your time, I'm in a good spot. We could come, I know it's really hard to look out from structure. And I actually have clearances now with the orientation I'm holding in, if you'd like to get DCA in, because I know it's very hard to look out. Okay, yeah, I do have a good view, so I'll back you up, but you can go for it. Perfect. Okay, Luca, if you're still there, we are going to do a little bit of a just additional GCA.
Absolutely, I'm here for you guys.
All right. Turns out maybe another 20 would be best, so we'll take 20 more centimeters in the same direction we are going towards structure.
The brakes are coming off.
Copy.
Spacewalkers Christina Koch and Jessica Meir there negotiating how they'll do a swap here. Christina Koch has the new battery discharge unit in her hands, and it's moving towards the P4 truss segment where Jessica Meir is waiting. They'll go together from P4 to P6.
The brakes are on.
That is where the failed battery discharge unit is waiting to be removed, and they can swap it for this new one.
Handoff. And Stephanie, we are back with you.
Copy, Christina and Jessica. Nice work. So as you discussed, you would be performing a ret swap and placing the unit on Jessica's BRT.
Copy. And I'm BRT now, and then I'll have her ret. So when you're ready, Jessica, want me to move it up? I think. Paddle's out. Paddle's not out. No, we're not on. I see that. I can get it closer to you. Now, would it be helpful to go ahead and do the ret swap now? Or you can do that. Bye. Okay, I've got my red on it, Stephanie, on the H2 scoop. Are we going to be able to get that BRT on there still? Yep.
Copy, Jessica. You have a ret on the H2 scoop, and you're working the BRT.
And I see my paddle out. The one on my side is out. I see mine out as well. We've got a good BRT. Okay, stand by. I'll remove my ret. Okay, and pull the box away from structure a little bit. Okay, the back. It's right up against structure right now. Oh, I see that on that corner? Yep. Okay. I have removed my ret, so now we are going to put it in a config on your BRT that you're comfortable with. Okay, yeah, we need to tighten everything up here. Okay, and I am still in control of it, so I can send it in a certain direction. Okay, if we can just maintain the position right now. Okay, tightening this joint. Let me tighten. Okay. With this, I can get it back a little bit. Now, we don't really want it, I was thinking about like this so that it's a little bit behind me. Okay. And if you're ready, I'll go ahead and remove my hands from my scoop, and then you can put it in the direction that you'd like. Okay, I'm ready. Okay? I have control of the unit. And we'll get perfect. I like that thin direction. That's great. I'm keeping. Okay. So in good config and in a perfect orientation for us to shepherd it outboard. So I think we are ready for kind of our next series of steps, Stephanie.
Copy, Christina?
We had Jessica holding... Oh.
Yes, so next week...
I've got all my joints. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yes, next is SSRMS egress. So, Christina, if you need a GCA for that, you can work with Luca.
Okay, copy. And before we start that, if I'm just going to come straight in, which would be most efficient, Jessica, I would have you move outboard about 2 feet. Are you able to do that? Yep, I can do that, but just give me a minute to get my tethers here. Copy. And I can also run cleanup for you when I pass by if there's anything that you can't reach.
Continuing that careful negotiation of handing off the new battery charge discharge unit between Christina Koch and Jessica Meir. Koch has carried it over from the external logistics carrier where it had been stored, and she is going to hand it off to Jessica Meir so that she can then get out of the foot restraint on the end of the robotic arm and into place to carry that new unit over to the P6 truss where the old one is waiting to be replaced.
GCA to published.
Brakes are coming up.
Copy.
Starting motion towards that structure.
Copy.
Copy the motion, and I'm going another 50 centimeters. You can stop me anytime.
Copy. And we'll take ramp out there. That's a good position.
See ramping out. Stop is GCA complete.
Copy, yep. GCA complete.
GCA complete, the brakes are coming on.
Copy.
And the brakes are on.
Copy.
You'll go for AP5 egress.
Copy all. Jessica and Stephanie, the first thing I'm going to do is fairly Jessica's tether on 5104.
Christina, we copy?
And that I understand I am go for egress.
Christina, this is Luca, and yes, you are go for AP5 egress.
Can work. Christina, I've got all the joints tight on my BRT, so it's definitely in a stable position, but with the mass of it, it is certainly still going to move around. So I think what we might need to do is have you close enough where you can reach that back scoop as necessary, or at least like a corner of the box. Copy that. We'll do kind of like a hybrid birding. Yeah. Because even with all of the joints tight, you know, when I move, it's still got a little bit of play in there. I see that. Like we were talking about with the BRT the other day. Yep. I have egress to APFR.
Copy, Christina. Next is the safety tether swap off of the arm.
Okay, and I'll need the GCA to the next position for that.
Copy, and I'm ready for, I do have a published position if you want me to fly to that.
I would. That sounds great.
They're coming off.
Copy, and we can report Ingress Davis stowed. You're in a good config formation.
Copy, and I can see it. Thank you. And Christina, for your situation awareness, is going to be 1.5 meters towards the structure.
Copy that.
Starting motion.
Good motion.
Copy, good motion. And Christina, can you confirm that you're clear of the arm?
I am clear of the arm.
Oh, thank you.
And Luke, I do see that the APFR is quite close still to the box. Do you guys have a view of that? No, I have clearance on that. It's okay. 2 feet. Okay. Thanks for your words.
And I'm ramping out.
Copy. That is a good position.
Copy, confirm that this is a final position for the GCA.
Confirmed.
And the brakes are coming on, GCA complete.
Copy. GCA complete. And brakes will be on.
The brakes are on. You'll go for APFR removal.
Copy. Right, Stephanie, the brakes are on, so I am ready for step.
Copy. For the safety tether swap, ret to your green reel, then remove your green hook from P4 handrail. I believe you have it at 5103, and then stow the green hook on your red reel.
Copy. Green hook is on the red reel.
Copy. Check green hook closed and locked, and release the ret.
Green hook is closed and locked. Look it on the red.
Copy.
It is removed.
Copy. Retrieve yellow hook from SSRMS lee forward tether point. Stow it on your green reel.
Copy.
As you can see from this view, Christina Koch has gotten out of her foot restraint on the robotic arm and has been working on getting all of her safety tethers into a good configuration so that she can begin working here on the port side of the station's truss. She and Jessica Meir will be moving that new battery charged discharge unit into place on the P6 truss. They're currently on the P4 segment of the truss, which is a little closer to the center. So that P6 work site is a little further away than the space station's robotic arm can reach. So Meir and Koch will be carrying the new unit the rest of the way by hand rather than getting that ride on the robotic arm that they got for this far.
It's on the red reel, I believe, but it goes on the green reel. Is that correct? And I may have misheard you.
Yes, the yellow hook is stowed on the green reel.
Copy.
When
The hook is on the green reel, gate closed, slider locked, and the green reel is in unlock. Red reel is also in unlock.
Copy, Christina. That's a good config. Jessica, nice job being quiescent. And I'll take a glove, hap, and gauntlet check from you both.
Am I as good as Drew at being quiescent?
You are better, and understand you're channeling your inner Drew.
My gloves have no change, and my hap is dry for EV2.
Copy, EV2.
Jessica Meir has been standing by holding that new battery charge discharge unit that Christina Koch handed off to her. This is a view from her helmet camera.
Copy, gloves in HAP for EV1. Check gauntlets in place for you both.
Let's are in place. And for EV2.
Copy. PET is about 2 hours, 35 minutes. Limiting consumable 7 hours, 40 minutes for EV1 and EV2 battery. And we are 20 seconds from a 20-second handover.
Copy that. And Stephanie, I wanted to be sure we're on the same page. The APFR is still an SSRMS with.
We concur. That's next.
As Cook was verifying there, her next step is going to be to take the foot restraint she used for the ride on the robotic arm, remove it so that it can be used elsewhere as they make their way with the new battery charge discharge unit towards P6.
I think we're in our handover already.
Christina, Jessica, back with you after the handover. And Christina, you're correct. Next is APFR removal. If you need, you can work with Luca for GCA.
Okay, I don't think we'll need any GCA. And Jessica, just to mention it to you, I see that you have the ORU oriented now stationed meter so away from the truss. That's good because I think when the APFR comes out, it could, move in your direction a little bit. So be aware of that. Copy that. I'll remain as I am. And Stephanie confirmed that the destination for this APFR is with 10.
That's affirmed with 10. Any clocking?
Copy. Solving with 10. Good pull and twist test. Black on black. Clock.
Copy, black on black and good pull twist test. Christina, when you are happy, when both you and Jessica are clear and tethers and tools are clear, you can give Luca a go to maneuver to EVA Park.
Copy. Let me give it a once over. Right, Jessica, I'm showing tethers and tools are clear of the lee. And Luca, with that, I am also clear, and you have a go to maneuver.
Christina, I copy, and the brakes are coming off.
Copy. Christina, if you can see the my tether is about to slide under that ATFR pedal. We'll keep an eye on that. I wanted to keep it outside of the ATFR. There we go. We'll put it under the talking ring. Copy. And I'm showing the lead fairly close. Luca, have you started motion?
Negative, Christina. We're going to wait until you are out of the way, and then we'll start motion.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought we were waiting. I thought it was the other way around. So I will go ahead and start translation outboard. Hi, Jessica. I am to the ORU, so I would be ready for you to start, or for both of us to just kind of start slowly making our way. Okay. It looks like it's in a great config. Okay, copy that. I'm going to just move slowly, and and if you are close enough to get to that back end, I've got a little plane change coming around the corner here. Okay, copy. And if at any time we want to stop, put down the local or any orientation or anything, that's fair game. Okay, copy that. I think you've probably got a better view of the box than I do, so I'll have you call it. Okay.
Koch and Meir now both on their way from that P4 site where Koch got off the robotic arm to the P6 site where the old battery charge discharge unit is waiting to be replaced. While they make their way, we have a few more Ask NASA questions. This one from a 7th grade class in London asking how long the astronauts have been on the spacewalk at this point, and they had just made it, though that is a little bit fluid based on how much they get done.
Just after that, we will go quiescent.
Copy that, Luca. It was awesome working with you on the arm. Thanks, Luca. Thanks, Drew.
See you guys in a couple hours.
Sounds good.
Luca Parmitano wrapping up his activity for the day. He's been driving the robotic arm with Christina Koch on the end of it, but now that they are safely on the port section of the space station's truss, they are going to be making their way by hand to their main work site for the day, and his job is done.
Copy. Mine's in work.
Copy, Jessica.
For our next Ask NASA question, we have a note from 6th graders in Knoxville wanting to know how long Christina and Jessica have been at the International Space Station. Christina Koch is actually on her 217th day today, and it is the 23rd day in space for Jessica Meir.
You are correct. Thank you.
Meir just launched in September.
Stand by one. I'm just going to reorient this PCU around the white target. Okay.
And she'll be staying until the spring. Koch has had her mission extended. She will be staying almost a year, not quite, but she actually arrived at the space station in March and will be staying until February. Once she's done, she will break the record for the longest single space flight by a woman, currently held by Peggy Whitson. Whitson has 288 days on her longest space flight, and Koch will reach that point on December 28th.
Christina, and is the box going to be clear of this stowed radiator? Affirmative. It's Okay, I've reached the IEA. Okay, copy that. Are you going to continue translating with your feet towards the radiator side like you are? It looks good. It looks like you can without any issues. Okay, copy. Can you get a good view of the box right now? Stand by. Good view. So it is down towards your left leg. Spins away from structure and away from you, so it's in a good config. And you can just talk about how you're going to move around that corner. Okay, I'm going to pull it up a little bit closer. I've got it closer and... Wait, stand by. Okay. Okay, the box is coming up towards your head. Yep. Okay, swing towards me. Sounds good. Can you get I'll move more inboard. Okay, I think it's in a better position now. Okay. Yep, I agree. You actually get a hand on that distal edge and pull it out of some structure a little bit. Yep. Okay. Okay, that's good. Okay. So I'm right above the APFR now. I'm going to continue outboard. Perfect.
Great view here of the two spacewalkers at the base of one of the space station's solar arrays with the new battery charge discharge unit between them.
Really well in the direction of your right hand, or your right arm if you were to extend it, so it's in a good spot. My left arm? This arm? Yep, sorry, your left arm. Okay. And as you move down, let me just double check it's not gonna... All right, so right now, front of it is just sort of under the boot plate of the APFR, so it kind of got into a good position there. Okay. I'm going to wait till you're in your final location, and I'll watch it as you maneuver. Yeah, so there's a handrail that's up here on this non-radiator face, but I think I don't see another handrail on this outboard edge. Okay, I see what you're saying. So there's this handrail where I can position, I think, am I okay with the box if I swing up my arm up here now? Okay. So I can position myself, I'm going to have to go out to that other handrail, I think, because otherwise I'm just in the way of the box itself. I mean the one that's on the, out port-facing side. And the box is still good, but it's actually not far from DGA back there. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so just be aware. Well, I can stay where I am right now. I agree. I don't think that's a bad spot. Okay. If you want to the BRT down, or at least the local, or you're obviously not a BRT right now. Don't get my BRT down, but I can get a local down. Okay. While you're working on that, I'm going to work on getting the crew lock back stowed at 5306. All right. Gonna look at the box there. I think what you may want to do is, now that we're not translating anymore, Goose, is fold it back more. Able to. So that it's more around your backside rather than out. Out was good for the translation. Okay. How's that? Bye. And that's better, and I'll be able to put it in a good spot for when I ingress. Okay. I will hold them right where I am, okay? And the crew lock bag is going to be actually right on this handrail that your helmet's at, okay, where I am, so. Copy. Now, one thing to think about is my translation to the APSR, but I think with the scoop,